their goal is, let's destroy Israel first because they see Israel as an obstacle to their bigger goals. And then the big state, which is America. They think they have Europe in their pockets because of the demographic shift and the Islamization that they're waging through the Islamist organizations, in particular the Muslim Brotherhood, and through the weakness that they sense of the European political elites, which is really weak.
So I saw another amazing clip of Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Just to remind you, Ayaan was born in Somalia in a Muslim household. She was raised as a Muslim. She was a victim of atrocities like female genital mutilation. She then fled and became a Christian and eventually became a Dutch member of parliament. And she is one of the most important voices on the truth about Islam. And I saw an amazing clip of her talking to Dave Rubin, which has big implications for what we're seeing in America right now. Have a look.
Everything we've talked about here, none of that ever surprises you, right?
Mm-hmm. No, none of that surprises me because, again, Israel is seen as the Iranian Islamist regime has articulated it in the most clear way. It's the little Satan. So their goal is, let's destroy Israel first because they see Israel as an obstacle to their bigger goals. And then the big Satan, which is America. They think they have Europe in their pockets because of the demographic shift and the Islamization that they're waging through the Islamist organizations, in particular the Muslim Brotherhood, and through the weakness that they sense of the European political elites, which is really weak and confused and backwards. We talked about it earlier. So they think they have Europe in their pockets. They think that if they destroy Israel, that will give them a chance to go after America. And right now, the Iranians, Islamic regime of Iran, which I hope anytime will fall. But they think that they have a working relationship with Putin, with Xi Jinping, against the West. And they're relying very much, they cannot rely on military superiority or economic superiority because America is militarily superior. So that is not the toolbox they're using. The toolbox they're relying on is subversion. That is this long-term plan to transform things from within. That's what they say. I'm not making it up. They say.
No, this is quite literally what Brigitte Gabriel has been yelling from the rooftops for years.
Okay, let's talk about that. So she says that the goal to take down the West by the Muslims is by subversion, not by economics and not by military. But when we're going to get into that in detail. But first, let's just address something else that she said. She talked about how they want to get Israel out of the way because Israel's the little Satan, and then they'll get to the big Satan, which is the United States of America. Understand something. It gets I'm going to get a little more into the weeds about how Islam sees the world. You see, the goal of Islam is to have the entire world submit to Islam. Not everyone has to convert to Islam. Obviously, you're supposed to convert to Islam, but if you don't, you can live as a second-class citizen and pay a jizya tax. That's a tax that a dhimmi, an infidel who lives with submission to Islam, has to pay. And there's all sorts of other rules that dhimmi, that infidels living under Islam have to submit to. The goal of Islam is dominance of the world. Within that, the entire world is divided into two sections. There's one that's called Dar el-Islam. Dar means house, which means the house of Islam. That's everywhere that Islam controls. And then everywhere that Islam does not yet control is called Dar el-Harb, the house of the sword. And that's where jihad is waged. Okay? That's the way they see the world. So you're either in Dar el-Islam under Islamic rule, or you're in Dar el-Harb, and the goal is to take Dar el-Harb and transform it into Dar el-Islam. Okay? Now within that, if there is any area that ever becomes part of Dar el-Islam, and it ceases to be part of Dar el-Islam, the top priority is to get it back, because any place that has ever been conquered for Islam is eternally the property of Islam and can never be relinquished. And that is why Israel is such a priority for Islamists to destroy, because Israel was part of the Ottoman Empire. The rest of what was part of the Ottoman Empire, the rest of the Ottoman Empire pretty much is controlled by Muslim nations right now. Israel is not, and therefore the top priority is to destroy Israel, because Israel is a piece of Dar el-Islam that was taken away from Islam. And that's why the Arabs always reject every agreement and every possible arrangement that would allow for recognition of the Jewish state. They can never accept a two-state solution. That's why they've always rejected every proposal. That also explains, and I talked about this in a different video, that also explains why between 1948 and 1967, when Judea and Samaria, known as the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip were both in Muslim hands, the Gaza Strip was controlled by Egypt, Judea and Samaria, the West Bank was controlled by Jordan. There was no one calling for a Palestinian state. No one was asking Jordan to relinquish Judea and Samaria, to relinquish the West Bank, to make a Palestinian state, to give them their autonomy. No one was asking Egypt to pull out of the Gaza Strip to give the Palestinians their autonomy. That was all nonsense. That never existed, because nobody cared, because it was under the control of, it was part of Dar el-Islam. Everyone was happy from their perspective. It's only the areas that Israel controls that are a problem for them, because they are under the control of an infidel. So Israel is the top priority. Now, what she was saying there about Islam's program to take over the West by subversion, and she says, listen, they say it. I want to show you how much they actually say it. So first, a little bit of background information. Back in August of 2024, there was, in Maryland, there was a Maryland Transportation Authority police officer who saw a couple that was driving by the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and they had parked their car, and they were taking pictures. He saw this woman wearing traditional Islamic garb, videoing support and taking pictures of support structures of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. So he stopped them to question them, and the driver was a guy by the name of Ismail El Barase, and he was then detained. And what ended up, and it turned out that there was a warrant for his arrest. He was part of an investigation. He was a material witness in an investigation that was going on in connection with fundraising for Hamas. So the FBI's Washington field office, which was the nearest FBI office to where they were in Maryland, executed a search warrant on this guy's home in Annandale, Virginia. And in the basement of his home, they found a sub-basement. And in that sub-basement, there were over 80 boxes of archives of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. Okay. One of the most important documents in this archive was then entered into evidence into a court case that was going on called the Holy Land Foundation trial. And that was a massive case. You could look it up. And it was an investigation of all kinds of Muslim organizations in America, all different Muslim organizations that were transferring money, raising money for terrorist activity around the world, sending money back to Hamas, etc. Now, in this document, one of the most important documents they found was a document called an explanatory memorandum on the general strategic goal of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. That's what it was called. It was not meant to be a public document. It was written in 1991, so about 13 years before this happened. It was written in 1991 by a member of the board of directors for the Muslim Brotherhood in North America and a senior Hamas leader named Mohammed Akram. It had been approved. It was approved by the Supreme Council, the Shura Council of the Muslim Brotherhood. And it was a document that outlined what the agenda for the Muslim Brotherhood in the West, in North America, was supposed to be. Now, this document subsequently was made public, and it is available. You can go find it on Amazon. But let me show you a particular passage in this document, and it pulls together everything Ayaan Hirsi Ali was saying, both at the beginning about Israel fighting against Hamas and the Iranian regime, and also what she said about Islam's goal of taking over the West by subversion, because it's all really one project. Take a look at this document. Okay, so this here is the document. Okay, this is the front page of it, and it's called an explanatory memorandum. Obviously, it's in Arabic, but there is a translation. Okay, so if you go all the way down to page 21, take a look at what it says here. This is a section called Understanding the Role of the Muslim Brother in North America. Okay, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan must understand, meaning the people, the participants must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. Okay, now I want you to think about what I just read to you there. I want you to think very carefully about it. This is huge. It refers to the Muslim takeover of America as civilizational jihad. Now, remember what Ayaan Hirsi said. She said, listen, they're fighting Israel with weapons, with missiles, with atrocities and attacks on October 7th and setting up military installations in Syria and Lebanon, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. They're fighting Israel kinetically because they see Israel as a small thing that they want to eliminate. But they can't eliminate the United States kinetically. They can't attack the United States militarily. That's what she was saying. So they do it through subversion. This is not just like an anti-Islamic conspiracy theory. This is literally what they write in the Muslim Brotherhood plan for the United States of America that I just showed you. The same jihad against Israel or against Christians in North Africa, for example, is waged through chopping people's heads off, through guns, through missiles, through military action, kinetic action. The jihad in the kind of simplest sense of the word, war. But jihad, civilizational jihad, is what's waged against the West. It is destroying the West, in their own words, they say this, from within, by their own hands. And that subversion comes in the form of all the investment in Ivy League schools and Al Jazeera network and business deals and infiltration into the political process, and creating a Muslim network that will undermine Western civilization and eventually bring it to heel. This is literally what they write in their plan for North America. It's the same jihad, and this is what the West has to wake up to. The war that Israel's waging and the problems you're having in America, in Minnesota, in Texas, everywhere where you see jihad is infiltrating, Zoran Mamdani taking over New York. This is all part of the same Muslim Brotherhood playbook. Where you can wage kinetic military jihad, you wage that. And where it makes more sense to wage civilizational jihad, you wage that. So just so you understand, this isn't, if you ever meet any of your more progressive friends who say, oh, you're saying that the Muslims are just trying to take down Western civilization, that's just a right-wing talking point. Download this memorandum of understanding. Download it. You can find it on Amazon, as I said. It's called the Explanatory Memorandum. Just go to Amazon and Google the Muslim Brotherhood Explanatory Memorandum, and you can find it. You can download it from Amazon, and you can find these passages yourself. This is the smoking gun that really explains what the agenda of Islam is for the West. It's to destroy it, to bring it to heel. As that document said, the goal of Islam is to rule the earth and to make us all submit to it. So kudos to Ayaan Hirsi. Keep watching this channel. And if you like these videos, please make sure to like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. But also check out all the content that we are producing, that I'm putting up at the Israel 365 YouTube channel. God bless.